everyone. Welcome to Sprinkle Some Love with a Cause podcast by Trisha Mullin. Today we have our guest speaker, Tiffany Ann Parker. She suffers from gastroparesis, also known as GP. So I kind of want to give you guys an idea first. How old are you today, Tiffany?
I'm 31. Will be 32 at the end of the month.
Okay. So Tiffany, when you first kind of started realizing there was a problem, I want you to start there at your journey and kind of how old you were so we can kind of have an idea of when it started for you.
I was at about 4 years ago, so I'll be 32. So that was late 20s.
Okay. So what got you to the hospital? Like, I know that that's kind of where everyone's story kind of starts, is in a hospital room with pain. So what was hurting on you, or what started your journey?
Well, what happened was, I was married at the time, and I kept on telling the guy I was married to, I was like, something's not right with me. I don't feel right. And so I actually went into an urgent care, and which is really weird. I've never really gone to an urgent care and somebody be like, oh, you have that. It's been, oh, I think that, so let's treat for that. So I went in there and I explained, okay, I've lost so much weight. I'm not really eating. You know, it's hard for me to eat. It's hard for me to have fluids and this and that. And we were talking about different things, and the doctor at the urgent care was like, you have gastroparesis. I'm like, no, I don't. What are you talking about?
So on your very first visit, they actually were able to tell you?
Yeah, the guy, I should remember.
That is different. That is very different. So since they did that, what was next then? After he told you and you were in denial, how long did you go in denial for?
I went in denial for about a week. I did some research on it. Checked out different things of what I could do to help me get better. While I was waiting, the urgent care doctor referred me to a gastro doctor in Jackson, and they did the whole, you've got to eat eggs, drink this, eat this.
Okay.
And it was actually pretty quick when they got me in.
Yeah, so the delayed gastric emptying, you did a radioactive egg?
Yep.
Okay. And then your results came in, and what were they? What did it say?
It said I do have gastroparesis. I don't remember the percentage.
No, the percentages is something hard to remember. But you were how old when that happened?
Let's see. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to go back in age to see. 31, 30, 29, 28. About 27, 28.
Okay.
Around there.
Alrighty. And at that time, you were in perfectly good health otherwise before that?
I had a gallbladder surgery when I was 19. I was still with fibromyalgia, neuropathy, and different things like that, and migraine.
Okay.
So my health, I was a diabetic.
But your gut health.
Type 2.
So how old were you when you became a diabetic?
They didn't fully diagnose me as a diabetic until after I got diagnosed with gastroparesis, which is weird.
Okay. And are you a full diabetic, or what type of diabetic are you?
Type 2 diabetic. When I was with my third child, they ended up putting me on insulin, but I was full. I was only fully taking pills.
Okay.
Like metformin and all that.
So you were never a diabetic, you became a GP warrior, and then diabetic came, and they figured out you were a diabetic, which is why they said that's what caused your GP as your underlying cause?
They think. They don't know.
Okay.
The highest my A1C has ever been was 6.3.
Okay.
Which is weird that they're mainly saying, oh yeah, diabetes, they think it's the cause, which I know people that have had higher A1Cs, and I'm
so those levels actually don't pertain to to the same thing. Kind of what those numbers are for the diabetic portion, but then you have the vagus nerve damage. So your diabetic issues cause vagus nerve damage. So those levels of your GP aren't the actual, those are the ripple effect, the actual damage. What's causing the damage is the diabetic itself causing nerve damage to the vagus nerve specifically. And your vagus nerve is kind of what would control the whole disease as a whole. So you have three different departments of people with GP. You have one that are diabetic. You have ones that are not, that had some form of physical damage, like an injury or a surgery or a car accident to the actual nerve. And then you have a third, which is limbo land, which they really have no answers for you. So I feel like for you, you would fit in one because you're diabetic. But if your numbers and your diabetic stuff isn't as strong or as hard as what you're saying to damage that nerve, then you could also be a portion of category 3, which is where they really just don't know. So, because you have diabetic, they're going to automatically classify it under diabetic just because you check off that box, as being a diabetic.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that your diabetic issues actually cause the nerve damage to be what's at hand, So, yeah. So after you realized that that was an issue, what kind of came next for you?
Once I did the whole, you have to eat the egg and everything, the MDM study.
Okay.
I had a doctor's point with a doctor at Hendrick Ford in Jackson, Michigan, and at that point in time, that gastroparesis doctor didn't believe or agree to try me on medication, because they were worried that it was gonna make my gastroparesis worse.
Okay.
So he told me to go on Amazon, and there's like these pills or whatever you can get. I tried it for a little bit. They were kind of expensive. I don't remember the name or anything. But I tried it for a little bit, and I got nowhere with it at all.
Okay. And then after that, was there any other options or treatment plans for you?
And then after that, we left it alone. I told my PCP, my primary doctor, what was going on, and I followed him from one doctor's office to another because of my case. I knew how hard my case was.
Okay.
And for a doctor to sit there and listen to me, that he sat there with me one time, it was okay, we're doing this and this and this. So I followed him to a different doctor's office, and he actually sent the referral to U of M, and I dealt with them for about a little over a year.
And what benefits were you able to obtain from that relationship? What did you get out of it? What treatment plans did he put you on that you felt were beneficial?
The U of M, we try sorts of different medication. And some of them I get a temporary relief, and then my gastroparesis pretty much acted right back up. My doctor I had at U of M was well, my next step is I want to do Botox in your stomach, because she has heard the simulator in your stomach really don't work. There's different other ones that she was I don't think that's gonna work for you. So she was let's try Botox. But she's there's a 50-50 chance that it might not work. And I'm okay, I don't want something that's gonna be a 50-50 chance not work. I have kids at home. I can't be laid up. And I don't believe with my migraines, I have migraines too, and me and my neurologist agreed no Botox too, because I don't know. It's something to use cosmetic that I don't want inside my body or on my body.
I often hear people that are often given Botox injections for migraines or other medical issues. They're against it. They don't feel that it's actually a treatment plan. It's more of another Band-Aid along the issue. And I kind of feel like most of the options for GP treatment are Band-Aid related. There is not an actual cure. There's not anything that is fully going to fix your problem. And that's what it's very hard for us to wrap around. As individuals, we often want a cure. We want to be fixed. We want to be normal. And it's very hard for us to accept the fact that that just may not be. Very. So how have you accepted that part of your life? How has accepting GP as part of your daily living, how has it changed you? What has it done like to make things different for you and your daily digestive issues? Just the simple things that people take for granted. How has this affected you?
Like I used to love to sit down with my family and eating like a steak or eating the mashed potatoes, or let alone a popsicle. Like that's what I miss. It's the small little things, and then when you go and eat it, you feel like you're literally half dead.
Correct. So that pain, if you could describe it for someone who doesn't know about GP, where is it located and what could you compare it to?
Like for example, I was like, my boyfriend's friend made homemade chicken Alfredo. And I was like, oh my god, that looks so good. I just want to try a bite. And when I ate it, it like it. I was okay for like a minute, if that, and then like you felt like your stomach got so full, you wanted to vomit your food back up.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that like the whole rest of the night. The next day, I was like, oh my god, why did I do this to myself? Like, why?
So
Like,
would you say like food poisoning symptoms are almost pretty much similar to every
I
time
would
you
say
put food in your mouth, it's like a poison to you or toxic?
it's like yeah, have food poison or another one for I'd say some women who have had hypermemesis. It reminds me of that. Or it reminds me when some women when they're in their first trimester where they some women they have to throw up and they'll be visual for a little bit and be fine.
So like when you're
Well,
pregnant, that type of throw up, that type of nauseousness and vomiting that you endure, you would compare it to the beginning phases of the pregnancy.
yeah, times 10.
Times 10. Yes, that nauseousness is times for sure, because at least we know what nauseousness with pregnancy is with the first meal of the day or the last meal of the day, depending on your hormones. But with gastroparesis, it's every meal of the day.
Yeah.
So it's a little harder on us and the body. Now, I kind of want to ask you about, have you ever had a feeding tube?
When I was about 20, around 20 weeks pregnant, um, well, I have a pick line right now, and they're using it for banana bags while I'm pregnant, so I can get some type of nutrients. But
Okay.
I was about 20 something weeks pregnant, and my OB sent a refer over to a surgeon who I've had that surgeon. He's a great dude. Him and I have already talked in the past about my gastroparesis and all everything. But anyway, they had me admitted to go get an NJ tube. I had the NJ tube for almost 24 hours, and they're gonna let me go home, but my body rejected it.
Okay.
Where I end up throwing it up. So my surgeon I had was like, okay, let's try PCN since I had the pick line.
Mm-hmm.
I was on PCN when I was pregnant in the past for hypermemesis, so I knew about it. I was like, oh yeah, I know that, blah blah blah. Yeah, I can do that. But that surgeon was gonna take out my case, so I would get my PCN while I was pregnant. But my OB I had at that time denied me picc and my surgeon to take on my case due to me being pregnant.
And you are already a high risk pregnancy, so I'm assuming because of these issues.
They didn't. My OB didn't want me to have picc, but I mean, I get this risk and everything. It was a risk, and he talked to another high risk doctor, and that doctor was like, "Oh well, I've known women and babies that have died due to TPN, something in TPN." I'm like, well, everyone's different. I've had TPN in the past, but it was tough that OB like, oh.
So when she was nervous about the outcome, she had decided it was something that you guys just didn't want to take the risk did not outweigh the benefit.
Yeah, but the OB wanted to take a risk of me getting a feeding tube while I was pregnant.
Well, because the risk of you not eating is a different type of risk because the nutrition also needs to go to the baby. And if you are not getting it, the baby is definitely not getting it. Yeah. So a feed-in tube isn't really so much for you at this point. It's more or less for the baby. And it's kind of a need to thing at that point. Only because of the nutrition issue that you are having at that point. So I can definitely see that all colliding together to make like a bigger picture there. How long did you have that feeding tube through your pregnancy? Like when were you able to get that removed?
Actually we did not. My surgeon, because of my me being pregnant, he didn't how far along I was and everything. Didn't feel comfortable of putting a feeding tube in me. He told me after, I was done being pregnant that I needed to come in and get the feeding tube. So yeah, I had the NJ for about not even 24 hours.
So when that baby was born, what was the weight of that baby since you did not get the feeding tube?
Which is really weird. She was 7 pounds.
She got all your nutrition, it sounds like, and God did you a favor.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. So after you had the baby, you went in for this feed-in tube, I'm assuming, and how did that work for you?
I'm going in on May 25th at 8 a.m. to start the feeding tube. So I'll find out how it goes and the process of it.
Okay. So this will be your first tube?
Yep.
Okay. And how much do you currently weigh now?
I am about 174.
Okay. And how much did you weigh when this first started years ago?
I was about 165. So I keep my weight on for and a good portion of it.
Okay.
Which they don't know, they don't get why either. But I'm like, they're different. I thought, what I heard is, you can throw up, but so I don't know.
So there are, during those 3 types of gastroparesis, there are 2 additional types that are still the same, but they fall within those categories. So you'll notice out of those 3 types, you have 2 type of people divided between those 3 departments. And you have people who are really skinny and are losing so much weight. Then you have some people that are heavier who aren't losing as much weight, but they're still enduring all of the same problems, and they're not like at 75 pounds, but they're still sick. So it sounds to me like you're at 175. So you kind of fit the description of the other type where it's kind of like you're still bigger, but you're not healthy, you're not nutrition, you're not you don't have your vitamins, your minerals. And
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, when I first found out I was diagnosed with gastroparesis, I was at 220 pounds.
Okay, so you
highest weight.
You have lost weight then from 220 to, that's kind of why I asked you a minute ago, and you said like 150 is what you started at, and you're like 175 now. So you have lost some weight, but you haven't lost like 100 pounds yet, which is good. But at the same time, people aren't realizing whether you're losing weight, whether you're not, even though you and you're like, I have a friend who's 75 pounds, and then I have you who's 175. But both of you who are suffering from the same disease are suffering from the same malnutrition issues. The weight does not make you healthy. Your weight does not make you a healthy person. Just because I put on some weight today or I gained an extra 10 pounds this month. It's not about the pounds. This is a disease that if you don't get, your organs work on nutritions and vitamin like B12, like minerals, everything. And if your body isn't absorbing those through your food or through medications or insures or liquid, like a feeding tube, for instance, then your organs aren't getting those vitamins and your organs aren't able to do what they need to do in order to make you a healthy person. So, whether you're losing weight, whether you're not losing weight, if someone out there is struggling with this and is feeling the same way, just because you haven't lost 100 pounds does not classify you to not be a GP person or to get a feeding tube. This girl right here is 175 and she's about to get her first feeding tube. And there are girls out there that are 75 that are still pounds that are still too scared to get it. So the fact that you're brave enough to endure those trials and tribulations that are about to come your way are only going to help you get over the hump. Because once you get those nutritions into your body, the feeding tube you might need for a couple months, but eventually you'll be able to remove that and try to pick up a little bit of a healthy living from, there on until next time or until you manage it, and learn how to manage it perhaps. And management can consist of things we eat to the vitamins we take. So for you, what are your biggest fears with the feeding tube? Like, I know there's fears, but I also know that you have some confidence or you wouldn't be going through it. So I kind of want to talk about both of those.
My fear is, I'm trying not to cry. My fear is, the complications that may come to it.
Mm-hmm.
The pain, not being able to do anything with my family.
The isolation.
So it's in me having almost 2-month-old. It's like I have to. That's my biggest thing is like, I'm scared of something happening with the surgery.
Okay. I feel your fear there. I have that similar fear myself because I've had a lot of surgeries. So, my best advice to you on that fear is if you know that this is going to make you healthier for you to be here with your child and so you can be the woman that raises your child, we do what we have to. And with or without those fears, I know you're going to go through it because you're doing what you have to. So, with that being said, once you get on your journey, your biggest thing is once you come out of surgery, the fear part is over. You're on the realization of how do I manage this feeding tube. So if you're not aware of self-management, the number one thing for your feeding tube is cleanliness and keeping it maintained because bacteria and infection build very quickly. And if they build very quickly, we have a ripple effect of how that affects the body and the damages that it endures. And if you don't identify that you have an infection. So I definitely will pray for you on your journey. And I hope that whatever you do is that every day that you're taking care of that tube and that the baby's really young right now. And I think that you can manage both. I think that we are strong. We are very, very strong. We don't give ourselves enough credit for the strongness that we endure, but it's going to be hard for you at first to pick the baby up and do simple things. Do you have a support system, somebody who's out there helping you right now or who plans to help with the baby while you're recovering and learning how to adjust with living with a bag?
I have my brother and my boyfriend.
Okay.
Who's gonna help.
And
then I have a 16-year-old that she can help, and I have a 12-year-old. So
okay. So a mother of 3. So as a mom, I'm a mom and I have teenagers. How are you dealing with the teenage lifestyle while being sick? I know that can be a handful.
It's very hard because I don't know where you live, but where I live in Michigan.
I live in Pontiac, Michigan, actually.
Oh, okay, I live in Lansing, Michigan.
Okay. We're not far, we're like an hour or so apart.
So, I don't know. I know some gastroparesis people. The heat. The heat is the biggest thing for me. I can't go. Well, I say I won't. Can't. I try, but it leads to me being stuck in bed. And then I had these episodes where like I'll black out because we think it's because I'm not getting the nutrients and stuff I need with my gastroparesis. So it's hard, as being a mother and having all these have this problem where you can be like, okay, let's go fishing, okay, let's go camping, or let's go do this, let's go do that, because you don't know one day from the next if you're going to be stuck in bed or you're going to be miserable and you don't want to step foot out of your house.
So how have your kids dealt with that adjustment? Because I know that that's an adjustment for sure.
They've gotten a little upset with me. To a point they understand. Because my mom had health problems and they knew what I dealt with my mom.
Okay.
So like they get upset about certain things, but I'm like, hey, we can do this at home, or we can do that, or we'll find another day, or we'll wait till it cools down.
Yeah, it's definitely hard because when you were raising them, you were more healthier, and then all of a sudden you just kind of took this turn, and since this turn you haven't really fully come back from the turn, you're still fighting the battles, and now you have another child here, so it's kind of like, well, when are you going to be okay, Mom? When can we go back to what we normally do and our normal fun and doing the things we
Yeah.
love with you? Because they're not fun when you don't go, Ma. Come on. So I hear that very often from my own children at time where they're begging me to participate in certain activities that I'm just like, but why? I just don't feel like it. I don't feel good. I mean, we could do this any day. So I know that that's a struggle, and I can relate to you on that. During your battle, you said that you had some good support people. Who would you like to give a thank you to? Who has been there, and what have they done to help you through your battle? You said you had a couple
Um,
support people that were there for you. Is there anybody you want to give like a particular thank you to, or a shout out to?
I would say my mom, who is no longer here, she was with her having her health problems. It's made me be a strong person and know I can fight through it. Um, Another lady, Marsha, who I thought her as my second mom, she had MS, and she made me be like, okay, you can get through, get through it or whatever. So I was a caregiver because of Marsha. I wanted to be a caregiver. Um, and I would like to thank my kids and my boyfriend Cody and his friend Colin
Okay. If you
and my brother Brandon. Sorry.
No, continue. If you want to, you can say something to them individually. You can give them, I mean, they may be listening right now. Feel free. I would like you to say whatever you want to say to them as if they were here.
I really don't have much to say besides like thank you for understanding and not, just brushing it off like it's like somebody who is seeking pain meds or somebody who's seeking attention. It's like it's a disease and it's hard.
If you could say something to someone who doesn't have support right now and feels like they want to give up and that this battle just isn't for them, what would you say to them to encourage them to continue the fight?
Um, I was for me because when I just had it, I was scared to talk about it. I first started, finding people on YouTube, and I would talk to them. That was my first person I would that was support from, and then people are always there whether you know it or not. Um, I actually a friend of mine I stepped away from being her friend because I didn't know if she understood what I went through. And I was going through things. And by all means, she was there for me, and I didn't know. So I think people there, sometimes you don't realize they're there, but most of the time They are. And there'll be strangers on the street that will be there for you.
Yes, I agree with you on that. We often sometimes don't realize the people that are in our corner until we don't A, have them, or we come to a point to where we really need them and they're not able to come through to help us. So I found myself at a point in life where the caregivers I had helping me, so I just didn't care anymore and I didn't want to do anything. I just kind of let them do maybe more than they should have. But at that point, I was just ready to just let it all go. And I kind of got over that point at some time. Is there a point in your life where you kind of felt like the same way, perhaps?
Oh yeah. I would definitely say um I felt it a few times a couple years back when I was married, where I was like, I'm no good. I'm no good for anybody. Who's gonna want me? I have so much health problems. I can't even take care of myself, let alone having a hard time taking care of the two kids I had at that point in time. So the guy I was married to pretty much just like threw me to the curb.
Mm-hmm.
And
Was that
there's
because of
sometimes
your
where
diseases, or was it because of relationship issues that incurred because of your disease?
both my teeth, and it came to a point where I had a hard time getting out of bed.
Okay.
Doing my daily life activities.
And he just
You
didn't
know, get
understand.
no, and it
What was that straw that made you realize he's got to go?
the straw was I was always there. He was diagnosed with manic depressant and bipolar,
Mm-hmm.
and I was with him for 9 years, and I sat there and supported him. It was by side. It was like under rock, and he had AFib due to getting injured at work.
Okay.
A lot like when we a year after getting together, and I was there through it all. Him going to the hospital, him getting his heart jumped, and everything.
And then for him to turn
And
around and not be that same supportive person for you must have really hurt.
oh yeah, I was like, wow, this is a slap in the face. And then he would pretty much say my gastroparesis was for attention. And I was
I
like,
hate when people say that. I really want to we're not attention seekers, we're not pain med seekers, we're not hypochondriacs. But
and that's
continue.
another thing you said too was, oh, you're a hypochondriac. Okay, well, I got all these doctors' notes saying I'm not. So I would like to know. So it was just, yeah. And then my mom passed away December 12th of 2020, just a few months ago. And with her passing, um, I felt like, and I was pregnant. Like, I had my daughter March 28th of this year. And when my mom passed, I didn't have that. I felt like that main support person I had
Was gone.
was gone, and I was pregnant, and I felt numb. I didn't feel like I was pregnant. Like, I was like, but I have to be here for my unborn child. I have to be here for my two oldest. So it was hard to a point where I told my boyfriend, where I was like, I'm numb. What do I do? Like,
So what did you do? How did you snap out of that trance that you were finding yourself into that turmoil of I don't care anymore?
I snapped out of it. I mean, there's times I still have my moments where I'm
We
like,
all
am
do.
I good enough for my kids, my newborn? But pretty much I snapped out of it was like, I need to be here for my kids. I don't want my kids to be like me and not have their mom around.
Okay.
I have to be here for them. So it's hard, and that's what pretty much makes me put my foot down of the feeding tube, because that's the only way I can get the vitamins and nutrients, because that's my plan is I need those vitamins, I need those nutrients, so I can be
A healthy person.
and be to a point myself again.
Yes. And I kind of want to touch a little base on when we detox the people around us that are not healthy for us, we become healthier. Did you notice when you left him that you got a little bit healthier because of all of the stress and anxiety of the daily fights or daily comments or daily insecurities were gone? So you kind of might have felt a sense of relief at that point during your divorce. Was
Oh,
that something that you like that you went through?
oh yeah, like my divorce was, we were separated for about a year. My divorce was final May 12th of last year, so it's been a year. But when I went, because what mainly broke Camel's back and everything, our house caught on fire, and I was like, that's one thing I have. It's a long story. We were living in a trailer park. Our trailer caught on fire. We lost everything, and I was in the process of moving out of the trailer when our trailer caught on fire. And it hurt losing all that stuff, but I felt good at the end of it because it was the only thing I had with him that I didn't have to stress out
So now you felt like you could
about.
move on from him and everything that he represents because the beginning of the foundation was kind of gone.
Yeah, and so like when before my divorce final, I was like, oh, I can finally be myself. I was actually starting to find myself, figured out how to more deal with my health problems, and to be there more for my children.
I see a very
So
positive future because at this point you've done all the necessities that aren't necessarily treatment plans, but if you do detox the people who aren't supportive of you and you get on the proper regimens or treatment plan or you agree to the proper procedures that are needed to be done, those are the first steps of recovery from the negative impact that this disease brings, other than medications. And I definitely feel like you're on the right road to recovery. And that once you get this feed in tube, I really can see things turning around for you. And I believe that baby's going to change a lot with you, and so are the two oldest children that you already have. Being a mother can be so inspirational, and it seems like it's driven you to the point of where you are now.
it's a challenge being a mom and having health problems, but I actually wouldn't trade it for the world because if I didn't have my kids, I don't know what I would be at or what I would be doing right now.
I feel you. I fully do because I don't know what I would do either if I didn't have my children that I have now, and if I wouldn't have had them at the time that I had them. Like I had them at a young age, so having them at a young age made me grow up and made me become the person that I am today.
Oh yeah.
So I give them a lot of credit for dealing with me at my young age and dealing with me now. My kids. you know. So yeah, it's been a pleasure having you. So I kind of want to give the audience a little bit of insight. So over the next couple weeks, she'll be going to get this tube, and once you get the tube, I would like to definitely do a follow up with you and get an idea of how did the surgery go, were any of your fears, anything to be feared of, and what are your new plans, and how are you maintaining your health. Those would kind of be what I would like to go over in our next podcast when we follow up with you. How do you feel about that?
I'm great. I'm fine with it. I mean, I told you, I want to spread awareness and the words out for oh my god, I can't talk now.
It's
I
okay. I
was
put you
like,
on the spot.
I don't know. I just, my main thing is I just want to help you and others understand what's going on with gastroparesis. That it's not the disease that can destroy people's life. I mean, to a point it can, but it's other issues that come with it. And on top of that, I also deal with heart palpitations,
hmm
and we think that has something to do with my gastroparesis.
Okay. There are a lot of
So,
underlying causes right now that they're looking into to see if they are related, but they haven't actually officially linked them. But the fact that they're even looking is so happy to me because if they are willing to look, they just may find a connection. And if they find a connection, it may help others. So hopefully, your trials and tribulations and journeys will contribute to the medical field of finding us a cure one day, or closer to it. Definitely.
I'm hoping.
So,
I really am.
if you want to give a shout out to any support group, or you kind of want to let anybody know where to follow you or your journey or your story, go ahead and let everybody know.
I just want to give a shout out to my friends and family. I have a Facebook. It's Tiffany Ann, and I have an Instagram. It's I think chronically Tiffany.
Okay.
So those are the two main things, and um, to follow me on, where I actually follow a few GP people on Instagram and Facebook too, and they've actually helped me out.
So support groups have been a good thing for you. Well, I look forward to sharing this in our support group, Sprinkle Some Love with a Cause, and I look forward to sharing your journey there and many other places and support groups. I look forward to your next podcast with us. I want to see where this journey takes you, and I am praying for you, and I believe and see positive things in your future, and I think you're definitely on the right path, and that you finally figuring it out, and all those trials and tribulations to get you to where you are now is exactly what needed to be done. And now you're at the point where you can start to get some relief. Hopefully once you get that feeding tube, life will be a little more easier. It'll get harder at first, but it will get easier over that hump, and we shall see how things go for you.
Thank you.
So tune in next time to Sprinkle Some Love with a Cause podcast by Trisha Mullin. Thank you for coming, Tiffany Ann, and we will see you next time.